Good afternoon. I'm Dennis Galucki. Welcome to the 221st Imagine Greater Buffalo YouTube production and our 600th overall Imagine Buffalo program, all hosted by our wonderful downtown Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. Thanks for joining us today. This program is created by the Center for the Study of Art, Architecture, History, and Nature, C-SAAHN, as I like to pronounce the acronym, and ImagineLifelongLearning.com. Now, before we get started, just a little housekeeping. Everyone watching will be muted and your video turned off. If you have a question or a comment, please type it into the chat box and we'll go through them at the end of the presentation as time allows. We are recording this program, so you can watch it again later on the Central Library's Facebook page and YouTube channel. And please, we hope you share the link with others. Now, on to our featured speaker and special program that we have today. Joining us today is Douglas DeCroix, the Executive Director of the publication Western New York Heritage. Doug is also going to receive in this program the 2026 Imagine Greater Buffalo Recognition Award, given annually since 2009 to those who, behind the scenes, it is felt, have done a great job of imagining Buffalo and need to be recognized by this program. We've done this again since 2009. Chuck Lacusa and Bob Shibley were our initial recipients in December of 2009. And we've given many other awards to folks, and they all showed up at the library to receive it. Many of them are not with us anymore, but we'll review those perhaps at the end. But Doug, it's a great honor to give you this right now. He's going to speak here about Western New York Heritage and tell us what's going on there behind the stories, how that magazine has put these incredible stories together over all these years. So, Doug, please take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself and certainly how you landed where you are as Executive Director of the Western New York Heritage.
Well, thank you, Dennis. It's great to be here, and certainly thank you for the recognition. It means a lot for myself, and it also means a lot in terms of Western New York heritage to have our work be appreciated and recognized, and that is always a great thing for us. So it's greatly appreciated. So, I often say, I got here because I was dropped on my head as a child or something. I don't know, but for those some of you may know. I am not from Western New York. I'm from Illinois originally. I grew up outside Chicago. My family is from downstate, which is just like being from upstate in New York. So the dynamic is very familiar to me. I did do my high school years in Northwest Ohio, but as far as career-wise, I came to this position in 2009. I came to Western New York in 1993 for a position at Old Fort Niagara, and I spent 15 years there in various and sundry historical capacities in that, again, before I replaced John Conlon here at Western New York Heritage. And, the background-wise, my background actually is in history, not in journalism or anything like that. Although, you can't go to grad school in history and not learn how to write eventually. So it's sort of an allied field, I guess you could say. But I attended the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and then also Miami of Ohio, and did my doctoral work at Bowling Green up in Northwest Ohio. So before coming to Western New York, I did some things in the Midwest. And like I said, I've been at Western New York Heritage since 2009. So it's 16 years or so? I don't know. Seems like yesterday, but it's been a long time, I guess. So I've done a few documentaries and things like that too. A lot of different things. If you want to read up on me, you can go to our website and click on my picture, and I think a bio comes up or something. So, but that's me. But we're here to talk about Western New York Heritage, far more interesting than I am. And so I'm going to see if I can actually share share my screen here, if I can do this right, and we will give you some eye candy so you're not sitting here looking at me all the time. Oops, that's the wrong one. Never mind. Ignore that. That's the one I want. I love
Good.
technology, right? There we go. Okay, so this is us. Okay, here we are. Um, so yeah, I'm talking a little bit about Western New York heritage, and I'm assuming that most of you have heard of us, or you wouldn't be taking time out of your lunch hour to come and listen to me blather on for half an hour. But I'm going to assume for a minute that maybe there are some that are just curious and don't really know much about us. Um, just a few just 20,000-foot stuff. We are in our 29th year, actually, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. And our mission statement is to provide, or foster rather, a pride of place through the knowledge and appreciation of the art, architecture, and history of Western New York. So that's a pretty broad statement, as all good mission statements should be. And nowhere in that, nor in our articles of incorporation, does it say anything about thou shalt publish an award-winning quarterly 4 times a year. So that's how we got here. A little bit more on that in a few minutes, but we're a unique organization in a lot of ways, and I'll touch on a couple of those things here in the next few minutes. But to our knowledge, we are the only independent organization of our kind nationwide. Everybody else that does what we do are usually in some way associated with some kind of an historical society or other government agency, things like that. And we are not. That's good news and it's bad news. The good news is, I guess, we're our own master. We don't have to worry about taking orders from a higher authority. We have our own board of directors and such. The bad news, or I guess the less good news, is we're flying without a net, so we have to make our own way and all. There's no bailout. But like I said, so far we've been doing it for 29 years, and so hopefully we'll do it for another 29 if all goes well. So. Like I said, many of you hopefully have heard of us, but many people have not heard about us. And one of the biggest misnomers, because we do print things, people tend to assume that we're a commercial operation. And so we'll start out right away here by setting the record straight. We are a nonprofit cultural organization, just like the Museum of Science, History Museum, Martin Household, Fort Niagara. We could list 50,000 of these cultural partners. We work with a lot of those folks, which is a wonderful part of the job, actually getting to work with all of these wonderful organizations and the people that inhabit them. But we are a nonprofit cultural. We rely on members, or in our case, subscribers, just like all of them do, and our advertisers and sponsors to continue to do what we do. Without them, we would not exist. And so we really do value their contributions to us and their support and their interest. And, I often tell people, again, I'm not from Western New York, but I think, where else but Western New York? I know we've been quoting a lot of Marv Levy here lately, but could an organization like this exist independently? And, it really is this region and their interest, not only in the amount of heritage and the depth and diversity that we have here, but the interest in supporting an organization like this. And so again, we can't thank those folks enough for believing in us and enjoying what we do. It really does mean a lot to us. And we have subscribers all over the country and on 3 continents, the last time I heard, I think. So it's all over the place. A lot of those folks, of course, have Western New York roots, but it's great that they're turning to us to stay connected and to read those stories about the region and how we got to where we are. So like I mentioned, we're not under any larger organization. We don't receive any automatic government funding. We are very fortunate to have received funding from Erie County the last several years, but we have to apply for that like everybody else. So it's, again, it's not an umbrella organization that just, writes us a check every year or something like that. So, while we are like a lot of these other cultural organizations, we're unique, obviously, in the way that we go about fulfilling that mission. We don't have a place. I mean, we have an office, such as it is, but we don't have a place. We don't have exhibits and that sort of thing. The way we share our stories or our content is completely unique from anyone else, and also in a way how we share those stories. We'll talk a little bit about that here. So what do we do? Well, first and foremost, most people know us through our award-winning Illustrated Quarterly, Western New York Heritage Magazine. Dennis alluded to that. as the name implies, comes out 4 times a year: winter, spring, summer, fall. The winter issue is on the way to everybody now. I just got in the office, I think, today. So literally hot off the presses, and that. So we're really excited about that. But this is our bread and butter, as it were. As you can see, just a sampling of the covers. If you're not familiar with us, it is a glossy coffee table style magazine. It's about 72 pages. Actually, it is 72 pages. A variety of topics in every magazine. I try to avoid thematic issues, because if it's only a quarterly and you get a copy and you're not into that theme, well, then there's 25% of your subscription down the tube. So we try to give everybody a variety of things with each issue. As you can see, we've got some really old ones here on the left and some of the newer ones on the right. We've come a long way in 29 years. Which is great. As far as the insight is concerned, you get an idea of the kind of stories that we run and also how we approach them. We don't do things in a journal type of way. Like I said, it's a very lavishly illustrated color coffee table style magazine, which is great. But it's not all we do. We also have a website. I can go on if I dare share my screen here again. Let me see how clever I can be here. Okay, let's see if I can do this. WNYHeritage .org. Let's see here. And up. And like any website, this is a work in progress, but it gives you a sense of what we can do. And it's nice for those who are out of the area or, just want to tune in. If you go in under the issues here, you can see all of the issues we've ever published, what was in all of those issues. So if you ever wonder, well, did they ever do a story on blah, blah, blah? Here's a place to start. And you could just scroll right down, pick a year. All of the covers are on the top. So some people resonate with the covers. Oh, it was the one with the such and such on the front. Well, here you go. You can find it and just click on it and boom, here comes the content, what was in it and everything else. If you're not issue oriented, you can go into the archive, which is where all the content is. And what I like to do is, rather than go into issue or category or anything, I use the tags. So it's like I'm looking for something on, let's see, what have we done on art and artists? Well, here we go. 15 pages full of stuff. And then you just click on one, and most of these are available as digital downloads. Some of them are up just for the viewing, but not all of them. It just depends. And then I'll come back to this a little bit later in the About Us section in terms of becoming a sponsor or editorial things, and that you can do that too. And of course, there's a subscribe ribbon up here on the top and that sort of thing. So a lot of different things you can do there, a lot of information that is there that we hope people want to take advantage of, and things in addition to the quarterly itself. So not just the magazine, we do the website. We also do special publications and outreach. We've done a number of special publications this past year. We just finished up with our second volume of a 2-volume series on the Erie Canal for the bicentennial in collaboration with the Buffalo Maritime Center. We also, about 10 years ago, did a piece, or a 3-volume piece, on the War of 1812 in the Niagara region for that bicentennial. We've done a piece, you can see down at the bottom, the Makers, Moments, and Memorabilia on Buffalo professional sports. And our Legends of the Chautauqua Erie Great Belt actually in 2024 won the Jim Finkel Industry Award from the New York Wine and Grape Foundation, which we're really excited and proud of. So it's great to see that statewide organizations like that are also recognizing what we do. So that's what we do. But as a cultural, what do we really bring to the party? And what I like to think, my two favorite words when somebody asks us that question, or when I ask it myself, is context and perspective. Now sometimes it's the aha moment. Oh, that house up there, I didn't realize that that's who lived there, or that's the story behind it, or something like that. And that's wonderful. We love that. It tells people, or hopefully it shares with people, what happened here? How did we get to where we are? What does it all mean? Why should I care? and that's pretty heavy. Sometimes again, it's a little bit lighter, but I put the Great Northern Elevator piece here in the center for a reason, because I think it's a great example of this. With all of the faux around the elevator and its demolition, a couple of years ago, we thought, maybe people would want to know how this thing came to be. What's the story behind this thing? I've heard it on the news. Maybe I have an opinion. And so this was just a little short piece on how the elevator came to be, what it was thought about, at the time, and things like that. So, it allows our readers to be better informed about what's happening, things like that, but also, builds that pride of place. Look at all of the amazing things that have happened and are happening in our region and what our region's been known for over the years. So, and it's just a unique way of presenting it. Think of it as a 72-page exhibit that comes to your door 4 times a year, I guess. It's a way to do it. You don't even have to leave the house. We come to you. And so that's kind of what we bring to the party. But I wanted, they asked if I had a topic for this, and I thought, well, where do our stories come from is one of the questions that we get asked a lot. I get asked a lot. And the question, or the answer rather, that I usually give is, well, which story? Because each story is its unique creature. The answers are as unique as the stories themselves. Each one is a little bit of an adventure, even if we're dealing with an author that we've worked with before. Probably my wildest story is there was a story that came to fruition in the men's room of the Riviera Theater in North Tonawanda. That's about as bizarre, I think, as I get. I was there with my family, attending the Glenn Miller Orchestra concert, and got up for intermission and came back 10 minutes later. My wife is tapping her foot saying, "Where the heck have you been?" And I said, well, I got cornered. And if you've been in the restrooms at the Riviera, they're not large. And so you just never know where these stories are going to come from. Our authors come from all different walks of life. And I should say something about our authors because we couldn't exist without them. They are all volunteers. We do not have a paid staff of a cadre of staff writers that I can send out to do my bidding or anything like that. They're academics, they're cultural people, they're retired teachers or sometimes not retired teachers. You name it, they're from everywhere. And they are people who share our passion for the rich and diverse heritage of the region and who want to share it with other people. And so they do it for the love of it. And they are wonderful to work with. And like I said, I can't say enough about them. But the authors are critical to what we do. So if I go out and I do a program or I'm talking to somebody, usually outside the men's room, and they say, well, hey, have you ever done a story or you ought to do a story on this? My pat answer is good story ideas that come with willing authors get done a lot faster than good story ideas that don't. And if you look back through the issues, you'll notice that it's fairly unusual to see my name or somebody that's affiliated with the magazine on the author list because we've got so many other things to do. We just don't have the time often to do it as much as we would like. So that is really critical. So if you say, well, have you ever done, you ought to do an article on such and such, my usual response is going to be, well, I'd love to do that. Are you willing to write it? and we do good at hand-holding and things like that. We work with a lot of people that have never done this sort of thing before. So, if you are interested in doing that at some point, get us involved as soon as possible. I always cringe a little bit when somebody emails me a finished manuscript that says, here, take a look at this. Tell me what you think. Because sometimes it works out, but a lot of times it doesn't. And it's usually because we've done it already, or it's not quite the approach that we're looking for, or something else. All of these things can be worked out if we get involved in the process as soon as possible. And just, it really starts with a pitch. Pitch us an idea. Doesn't have to be formal or ornate or anything like that. Tell us what you're thinking. What's your idea? How are you thinking to approach it? I'll probably ask you, well, what about illustrations? Because we are an illustrated publication, all of our publications. Things like that. And we have a conversation and then we move forward accordingly. And if it's something that doesn't work out, well, maybe the next one will work out. No blood, no foul. We love to have those conversations. You can also download our submission guidelines. There's the URL, but the QR code is there. If you put your phone up or you're watching this later or something, it'll take you right to the editorial screen where you can download a PDF of our submission guidelines. Tells you a little bit more chapter and verse on things like word count and images and that kind of stuff. And then when you got an idea, reach out to us at editorial@wnyheritage.org. We can hear what you have to say. And of course, I would be remiss in my job if I didn't put in a little paid promotion at the end of our comments here before we get to some Q&A. I know I've gone through a lot of stuff pretty quickly here, but for those of you who are not subscribers, you really should be. If you're taking the time to listen to me, you're going to love the magazine because it's a heck of a lot more interesting than I am. We make it easy on you. Call our office, 893-4011. Darlene will be happy to talk to you. She's here Monday through Thursday. Could hook you up. Or you can subscribe on the website. Again, the URL is there, our QR code, take you right to the screen. And just as a little carrot, for those of you who are tuning in live or perhaps watching it in the next week or so, I thought we'd throw out a promo code for you. We'll give you a few bucks off of a subscription. A regular subscription is $29, which is already 25% off of the retail rate, which is $10 an issue. But we'll give you a subscription for $20, which is 30% off of that, and so forth. You can do the math. All the caveats are below, new only, and it does expire on the 13th. So act now, act fast. But we hope we can add some new folks maybe to our family as well. So always need those folks. Subscribers and our sponsors, our advertisers are what keep us in business. So we really do appreciate it. And I really appreciate everybody taking some time out to listen to me. And I hope we have some good questions here. So Dennis, with that, I will turn it over to you again. And I'd be happy to delve deeper into anything anyone wants to hear more about.
Well, thank you, Doug. It's amazing how the similarities we have. When I created this in 2009, this about the same time you were starting your platform. I see Western New York Heritage as a platform, history, but beyond. But it was to recognize all the volunteers that do things, docents, help support all the cultural organizations. So for you to be recognizing people with some writing skills and desire to put together stories and become the platform that holds these storytellers, if you will, and their stories, very, very similar and very similar time that we both experienced here. My hat's off to you. I have to mention that in the award standpoint, let's see if I can bring it up. In the same year that we started, the year after is when, let's see, John Conlon was 2010.
Okay.
And Stan Lipsey, I did 3 that year. We moved it to 1 a year beyond that, but it was Stan Lipsey and Charles Rand Penny. And both are no longer with us, but it was a good period, and it's been those types of people that I've given this award to ever since.
It's an auspicious list to be a part of, and I appreciate it. It's very flattering.
Well deserved on your part. Let's get to the audience and see what types of questions we have. Hannah, are you covering that, or Melissa?
I have a few questions in the chat. One is about receiving submissions and wondering how you verify, or if you verify that a submission is an author's original work. Is there a process for that?
Well, this is becoming more of an issue than it used to be. When I started 16 years ago, there wasn't as big of a deal with this, but now with so many things out there and the internet and everything else, I will say we are not perfect. We have a very small staff with, associated limited capacities and things like that. But we do our level best to try to do due diligence and scope everything out. I won't say it would never be possible for us to end up with something like that. But again, usually through this conversational process, through the pitch process and things like that, that's the way we like to do this, because then the idea kind of formulates itself together, and we sort of avoid that, oh, here's a polished, finished thing that, I'm claiming I did, but maybe I did, maybe I didn't. So we do the best we can. So far, knock on wood, it hasn't been a problem, and I hope it never will be. But yeah, that is something that we all have to think about, unfortunately, these days.
Of course. And I like the kind of approach you seem to take to collaborating with authors from the start with an idea.
It really works better, because then they can proceed in confidence, knowing that what they're putting together is something that we're interested in. And likewise, from my end, I can proceed in confidence, knowing that I know what's coming. And when we get this, all of them need a little bit of editing or polishing here and there, some more than others, but we know we're getting something we can use, and we have a ballpark idea of when it's coming, so that, from our planning perspective for issue to issue, it really is the best of both worlds. Nobody's wasting their time and that sort of thing. And you get to know the person too. I think which is great. You build a relationship.
Yeah, that's great. I have another question here about sort of the history of the publication, and it being a continuation of Niagara Frontier, which was published by the History Museum. Is there a relationship between that historically, or are these separate entities?
No, completely separate. And actually, we're technically a separate entity from how we began. We're actually our second nonprofit. That it began in 1997 as the Western New York Heritage Institute, which published a magazine, but also I think had more grandiose ideas about interacting with the schools and a lot of other things. That was before my time, so my knowledge of that is a little bit hazy in spots. But to my knowledge, this was not seen as a continuation of Niagara history. While we do have a great working relationship with the History Museum, there isn't any formal, affiliation in that regard.
Great. And a great question from Todd. Is there a particular story that you're most proud of?
Oh boy. That's like, which is your favorite child? They're all your children, even the ones I didn't write. I guess one of the ones that really sticks with me, the stories that stick with me the most, I think, are the ones where we've made some kind of impact, or there's been some kind of legacy beyond, what, Dennis, of course, you're talking about. And one of them was actually not an article that I wrote. It was an article that one of our former board members, Jack Wysocki, wrote on the Nyland brothers from Tonawanda and their service in Second World War. I won't go into the weeds, but in a nutshell, if you don't know, the Nyland brothers were the real life story that the movie Saving Private Ryan was based on. Two of the brothers were killed on D-Day. One was missing in action at the time in the Pacific. And so they did their best to get the one remaining brother, Fritz, out of Europe. He was also in the D-Day landings and things in the 101st Airborne. The story's a little bit different than the movie, as you might imagine. But in any case, I was fortunate enough to go over to France and visit the Nyland brothers' graves at the American cemetery there overlooking Omaha, and did it by virtue of having this article with us. We took a copy of the magazine, and actually they have it now as part of their permanent research archives there. And so that was really a tremendous experience, a very moving experience. And it was great to see their level of interest in how we told this story and the value they placed on it. So, I mean, there's probably 50 others I could name, but just off the top, that's one of them that really resonates for the impact I think that it had.
Amazing. I know we're close to time here, but Melissa also had a question about, in the digital age, do you feel there is still value in having a print publication, or would you ever consider going digital only? What's your kind of opinion on that?
I'm old school. I've got the gray hair and everything else. So, I love my hard copies. I'll be sitting there reading a hard copy by candlelight when the grid goes down. But, I think there's a tactile experience that transcends content absorption with having a hard copy of something in your hands. I think it's an experience that we have a lot of people that will say, your magazine arrived in my mailbox and I had 40 other things to do, but you know what? I sat down and I brewed a pot of tea and I read it from cover to cover. So it's a ritual, it's an experience. And I think it's a niche publication too. It's not like a newspaper or Time or Newsweek or some of these other things that are disposable. And so I think there is value, and I think there is a place for a publication like this in hard copy, especially when you consider the treatment that we give it, the glossy pages, the full color, vivid imagery, and things like that just don't come across as well on a digital platform. That being said, I mean, we're not idiots. We see where things are going. I personally predict that print is going to do what vinyl did. It's going to come back, at least some of it, and I think we're going to be part of that some. But we are, expanding our digital outreach. As I mentioned on the website, most of our articles we're working on it are available as digital downloads, so people, if they don't want the whole issue, can at least access one of the articles, both in its facsimile PDF form and also reading it on the web, so you can look at it on your phone or something like that. And we are working on, what does a digital version of Western New York Heritage look like? So that is definitely in our future. I pray in my time it will never replace the print publication, but it certainly is going to augment and expand our ability to reach new and greater audiences.
That's great. I just wanted to add that as an archaeologist and somebody who really appreciates the kind of material culture of things, I agree. I like the print copy, but your digital archive, I think, is great for piecing the articles individually to share, or just having a digital archive is really fantastic. So thank you.
Yeah.
And we're going to go over just a little bit, but I hope that exception can be lived with here. But I want to be clear, your digital content is available. There's no paywall that people have to go through to get an article from the past issues.
A lot of it is paywall, Dennis, but it's like $2 for an article or something like that. It's minimal, but there is a lot of free content on there. And we do kind of rotate through some of these articles that they'll come up, as an open article for a while, then they go down and another one comes up, so that we can give people a sense of the kind of stuff that we do, how we present the past and the heritage of the region and that sort of thing. So again, part of our discussions, and we've got some great board members that are helping us with this, part of our discussions is how we package this going forward. Do we go with a membership type of a package that with a certain level you would get unlimited access to all the back content and things like that? So these are things that we're exploring. We're trying to figure out what our best path forward is, but we're definitely moving in that direction. The print magazine isn't going anywhere anytime soon, but we will be seeing more of this 21st century content, because we also understand that, especially the younger generations and things, it's not how they consume things, and we have to be savvy to that, because we want them as excited about this region and its heritage as the rest of us that have been around for a while.
Well, the whole point of Western New York Heritage to me is to connect ourselves with our role in the case of USA 250 that we're celebrating nationally. Where do we fit in that? And that's part of the stories. Most people know it was the 200th anniversary of the Erie Canal, but they probably may not have been aware of Lafayette's visit that came through Buffalo 200 years ago as well. Your most recent issue, the fall issue, covers that in depth and connects our area with a much larger American story. That's my take of it. Your Erie Canal series that you did, where does it fit in the national story, not just of local interest? That to me is amazing and should be connected with education. And that's a quick question in there. Are there many educators at any level, K through college, that connect with you, where your content is being utilized in their classrooms?
Yeah, actually, Dennis, there is. We have a number of folks that we routinely work with. again, from the younger grade levels through high school, where actually I just met with the head of the history department at Buffalo Sem last week, and we're talking about doing some stuff with them in an article. We have a couple of university folks that, some of our stuff is required reading for some of the classes that they teach. So, we definitely do have those connections. And again, that's my background, the educational stuff, the historic site museum background is where I come from. So, that's an outreach endeavor that is near and dear to my heart, and we jump on it anytime we can make it work.
Well, I said at the beginning, this is created by C-SAAHN, but something called ImagineLifelongLearning.com, and I add then place-based lifelong learning. You connect to the universe from your own backyard, and certainly do in history. So, Doug, thank you very much for a great presentation and your fine efforts. It's a great magazine, and I'm glad the community has a chance now to understand the behind the scenes, so to speak, of your fine effort. Well,
I appreciate the opportunity, Dennis. Thank you. And Hannah and everybody at the library too. Very much appreciate all that you're doing for this.
Good. Doug, thank you very much. We're going to simply leave it here as a there won't be a program next week, but come on back in 2 weeks on the 17th of February, and we're going to have a special program as we transition to a new format. So come in and listen to that, and we'll look forward to that. I'm Dennis Galucki. Be well and good day.